Hey, how's it going, guys? Sano here, bringing you guys another video. Well, the time has finally come. The man, the myth, the legend, Sun-Shin himself has been revamped. Today I'm going to be talking about his revamp a bit because the end result was quite different than what I had imagined. Well, I'll be talking also Sun-Shin gameplay playing in the background, showcasing my new build and macro farming pattern after the jungle nerf. Without further ado though, let's get started, guys. Okay, so the first thing I want to cover on Sun-Shin is his base HP. When I first heard about the details of Sun-Shin's rework, I immediately thought that he would become a great fighter marksman like Roger, but with even greater sustain in fights thanks to his 30% damage reduction and crowd control immunity on his skill 1, which allows him to evade attacks and crowd control. However, what I found out the night he came out was that he really can't sustain those unless he's really fed or he's already got the upper hand. What I mean by that is that his base HP is simply too low to sustain hits and shots in teamfights due to burst skills. I actually don't have the specific numbers, but I'm pretty sure he lost about 800 HP, and his old HP used to be around 5,000 to 6,000 HP at late with a defensive item, and now that his HP is pretty much capped out at 4,100. It's just too low. He's simply too frail to be the sustained fighter I imagined and hoped he would become. Instead, he's more of a methodical marksman with bursts so powerful that they had to give him the assassin tag. I still believe the revamped Sun-Shin is incredibly powerful though, and very much worth using. Alright, now let's talk about Sun-Shin and what exactly makes him great. Note that since that most of these changes are quite known at this point, I will just be lightly highlighting them and commenting on why they're good and their uses. First up is Sun-Shin's passive, his main source of damage, the weapon switch. Whenever Sun-Shin swaps from his blade to his bow or the other way around, the next two basic attacks will be guaranteed crits done in a quick fashion. To properly utilize Sun-Shin and his maximum potential, you need to pop his passive as much as possible. Because of this, I recommend using Sun-Shin on closest targeting and use Hero Lock for locking down faraway squishies. Keep in mind Sun-Shin's passive also pops on towers, so when you're trying to push, try and pop his passive as much as possible, as the enhanced basic attacks will come out faster than his typical basics. They don't crit, however, they'll be pretty broken otherwise. Next up is Sun-Shin's first skill, Traceless. It's a typical dash skill that does damage and allows Sun-Shin to get close or escape. It has two special properties, however, that are fairly rare nowadays. During casting or for 1 second after cast, Sun-Shin is immune to all crowd control skills outside of suppression and gets 30% damage reduction. It is because of this skill that I thought Sun-Shin would be able to sustain and dive teams to take them all out. It is clear that that is not the case. Even with crowd control immunity and damage reduction, Sun-Shin simply cannot do that anymore due to him losing so many things that he used to have for close-up damage. It's rather a skill that is used to avoid crowd control / burst when you do have to get close or when you have to escape. It has a fairly long cooldown time, so unless you can pop your passive in quick succession, don't use it willy-nilly. Be careful. Also, quick side note here, special crowd control skills like Cho's ultimate takes longer, so you can't fully immune it, because it's similar to like Cho's second skill, crowd control immunity. If the crowd control effect is longer than your current one, you can't fully escape it, just like you Purify as well. You know how when you Purify a skill, Cho can still follow up on his second phase of his ultimate if he does it quick enough. So yeah, same situation there. You cannot fully Purify Cho's ultimate, so be careful of that. And yeah. Sun-Shin's skill 2 is next, a typical long-range poke skill used for snipes. However, it also has another use now. It resets Sun-Shin's passive upon cast, whether it be the long charged version or the short burst version. The short burst version's main use for me so far has been jungling when I'm alone and I can't drag the creeps out far enough to do my bow attack, so I just cast it to reset my passive for melee. It can also be used in close range fights to get off another additional set of 2 melee crits, up to 4 assuming you skill 1 in basic, skill 2 basic. At that point, the target is probably running away because 4 crits will pretty much tear down anyone unless it's a tank, which allows you to get 2 enhanced bow shots and should also reset your skill 1, allowing you to chase further or escape, depending on the situation. As for Sun-Shin's ult, it's mostly the same. You want to use it early to mid game whenever you see a team fight to snag up assists, and late game you want to use it before a big team fight to spread slowness and damage. Oh, and he gains more passive damage every time he upgrades his ult, so don't forget and accidentally upgrade something else when he hits level 4, level 8, and level 12. So, what's my final verdict on Sun-Shin? He's definitely not what I thought he would be, but he's still hella good. He's become a methodical marksman with insane bursts and a solid macro game. That being said, because he has changed so much, his build has also changed up quite a bit. What most people will do wrong is they build up the old way, the typical crits marksman with attack speed crits. You don't want to do that for a few reasons. Number one being the most obvious. So he already has guaranteed crits, so what are you doing? I mean, I get it, dive in and melee them to all to death is what the OD Sun-Shin did quite well, but that is no longer viable due to his melee multiplier being basically removed, RIP 270% attack, and an 80% attack speed cap, his base HP being lowered fairly significantly as well. But there's a simple workaround that people aren't utilizing. Build other items. Berserkers is a must obviously to boost his guaranteed crit damage, but after that, go for other items that aren't attack speed. His passive is more than enough to melt people down as long as you keep popping it, so get other items that either help burst them down, or build defense to help him sustain longer. It's common sense. Anyhow, that being said, I do have a build and emblem I am recommending for people to try out on Sun-Shin. The first one is for early game, whilst the other one is for late game. Demon Hunter Sword and Golden Staff is for dealing with late game tanks who build Twilight Armor to sustain their crits. That being said, you should still be able to deal with enemy squishies even if they build armor. Wind of Nature is just for extra safety, and Rose Gold is there as well for that. You remove Raptors towards late game for Bladed Despair because, for one, if you're fighting squishies, you often don't need that much penetration, and if you're fighting tanks, you got Demon Hunter Sword and Golden Staff, so the penetration that Raptor provides is just not as good, so it's better to get the extra attack, the mobility, and the actual burst when the enemies get lower with Bladed Despair. Well, hopefully you guys enjoyed hearing my first thoughts about Sun-Shin and his revamp. I still believe he will be absolutely incredible and worthy of bans, but it may take a while for it to happen in North America, or it might just not happen at all and I'm wrong. Who cares? Enjoy the rest of the gameplay, guys, and until next time, peace.